The Houthis just came within 200 meters of hitting a U.S. aircraft carrier in the Red Sea, and they even had U.S. fighter jets in their crosshairs. This isn't just another conflict. It's evolving into something far more dangerous. Here's what you need to know. For years, the Houthis focused their attacks on ships moving through the Red Sea. Oil tankers, cargo vessels, and even patrol boats were frequent targets for their explosive-laden drones and anti-ship missiles, tactics aimed at demonstrating power and controlling a critical shipping route. But around early 2023, a shift in their strategy became apparent. Their rhetoric started to change. Public statements and propaganda videos began to suggest a new type of ambition, dominance not just over the waters, but also over the skies. This marked the point where the U.S. aircraft became a part of their evolving playbook. The attempts to target aerial assets were no accident. The shift was calculated. The Houthis, supported by Iran's military expertise and weaponry, started to test their missile systems with increasing sophistication. Surveillance revealed that the group had begun conducting live fire tests against simulated targets along Yemen's western coastline. This wasn't mere posturing. According to intelligence reports, these tests were a result of heavy Iranian involvement, with advisors providing guidance on how to modify missile systems to attack and engage fast-moving aircraft. One such test, uncovered by satellite imagery, involved a surface-to-air missile fired from a concealed launch site near Houthi. While the target appeared to be a balloon or another aerial practice construct, the precision and distance of the test alarmed defense analysts. It didn't take long for those theoretical capabilities to turn into credible threats. Around this time, U.S. surveillance assets in the region reported unusual activity near the Houthi-controlled areas. Drones flying overhead captured images of mobile missile systems being transported under camouflage netting. More importantly, intercepted communications hinted at plans to use these systems in active combat. A particular report reached U.S. military planners detailing how Iran had supplied the Houthis with air defense systems like the Sayyad-2C, a missile capable of targeting high-altitude aircraft. For the U.S., this wasn't just a threat on paper anymore, it was an operational reality that demanded attention. The first close call came just weeks after those surveillance findings. A U.S. MQ-9 Reaper drone, conducting a reconnaissance mission over the Red Sea, was nearly taken down by a missile believed to be a modified version of Iran's Fahar 5C. According to a Pentagon statement, the missile missed its target by less than 300 meters. That distance might sound significant, but for fast-moving drones operating at high altitudes, it's a razor-thin margin. The incident confirmed the worst fears of U.S. strategists. Houthi missiles were capable of reaching their aircraft. In response, the U.S. military quickly began ramping up defense measures. Navy ships already operating in the Red Sea increased the use of radar and electronic surveillance to better trace missile launch sites. Fighter jets patrolling the region were instructed to alter flight paths and maintain more distance from known Houthi-controlled zones. Additionally, advanced countermeasures like the MJU-68 flares, designed to mislead infrared-seeking missiles, were prepped as standard safeguard for patrolling aircraft. The U.S. also deployed additional drones to monitor the launch sites, hoping to gather enough intelligence to neutralize future attacks before they were launched. Even with the stepped-up precautions, the dangers were evident. In Yemen, the Houthis responded to U.S. surveillance with bold public claims. "We have developed the tools to defeat any enemy in our skies," declared one of the group's spokesmen, aired by Al Masirah, their official television outlet. These statements weren't idle threats. Following the failed attack on the MQ-9, Houthi fighters posted grainy, low-quality footage they claimed to show the missile locking onto its target before ultimately missing. While many observers dismissed the footage as propaganda, U.S. officials couldn't ignore the message. The Houthis were determined to push their newly tested capabilities into actual combat. Early exchange between the two sides seemed to escalate the situation further. For the U.S., those near misses with drones weren't isolated incidents. They hinted at a more organized and technologically advanced adversary than what the Americans had encountered in the region before. Instead of brushing off the Houthis' rhetoric, military planners were beginning to realize they were dealing with something far more potent, a proxy force armed with state-of-the-art tools meant to challenge U.S. dominance in the airspace over the Red Sea. These initial encounters shaped the U.S. approach moving forward, but also emboldened the Houthis. With each marginal success, their public claims of victory grew louder. Their leadership released statements boasting about forcing U.S. aircraft to retreat and calling it proof of their growing strength against what they labeled foreign aggression. For the United States, however, these early incidents went beyond rhetoric. The risk posed by these missile systems, coupled with potential miscalculations, demanded more aggressive counter strategies, setting the stage for the more open confrontations that would soon follow. But as the skies over the Red Sea heated up, it was clear that the early stages of this aerial conflict were just that, the beginning. For the Houthis and their Iranian backers, this wasn't just a show of force for regional dominance. It was an experiment in stretching the limits of asymmetrical warfare. For U.S. forces, the true cost of what was unfolding wouldn't become clear until much later. The clashes ahead would be sharper, deadlier, and far more significant. In one of the most intense periods of aerial engagement in recent memory, within just 30 days, the Houthis downed 7 U.S. MQ-9 Reaper drones, each worth $30 million, and came shockingly close to hitting several manned aircraft. The MQ-9 Reaper, a cornerstone of U.S. surveillance and strike capabilities, was designed to fly high above threats on the ground. Yet Houthi missiles outfitted with Iranian upgrades proved devastatingly effective. Captured drone wreckage, in some instances, revealed scorched fuselage and shattered components, grim evidence of missiles finding their mark. Each strike wasn't just a financial loss, but also a strategic hurdle. Less surveillance meant fewer eyes on critical launch points deep within Houthi-controlled territory. The audacity of these strikes sent waves of concern through the Pentagon. Most alarming, perhaps, was an incident that occurred just days after yet another MQ-9 fell from the sky. A U.S. F-16 fighter conducting routine operations over the Red Sea narrowly avoided disaster after a Houthi-launched missile locked onto it. The pilot had only seconds to react, deploying a combination of flares and aggressive movers to evade the incoming threat. The missile's explosion rocked the fighter jet with a shockwave, marking a near miss so close that it was later described as a wake-up call during internal U.S. military reviews. For a force accustomed to air superiority, this was the kind of challenge that required immediate recalibration. The technical backbone of these missile threats could be traced to Iranian innovations. Among the weapons used were modified Scud missiles and the domestically assembled Sayed 2C. Tailored to engage not just drones, but also faster, more evasive targets. These systems didn't rely on sheer brute force. They utilized advanced targeting algorithms and radar technology, tools that could actively track movements of aircraft as they adjusted course or altitude. For U.S. pilots and crews, it wasn't just the missiles themselves that were dangerous, it was the system's ability to anticipate their next move. And then there was the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower, the flagship for decades of American naval dominance. Its presence in the Red Sea was meant to project power, a mobile fortress equipped with state-of-the-art defenses. A Houthi missile fired from the Yemen coast came within 200 meters of the carrier during one high-profile engagement. The Eisenhower's crew acted quickly, deploying countermeasures as radar operators tracked the missile's trajectory in real time. The near miss immediately prompted an evaluation of the carrier's defense posture. During the Eisenhower's deployment in the region, it expended hundreds of missiles and countermeasures in what became one of the most intense defensive campaigns ever faced by a U.S. carrier. For the pilots, the psychological pressure was building. Combat missions over the Red Sea meant more than just worrying about hitting targets. They now involved constant vigilance against incoming missiles. Communication chatter in the skies above Yemen began to reflect this shift. More frequent calls for vigilance and evasive action. For the crews that launched from carriers like the Eisenhower, the risks expanded beyond the battlefield. Incidents like the arrestment failure aboard the USS Harry S. Truman, resulting in the loss of an FA-18 Super Hornet into the sea, added to the growing list of hardware losses. Those chaotic engagements also brought unintended consequences. In one disastrous case, a US FA-18 Hornet was mistakenly shot down by its own side. It happened during a moment of confusion, as the guided missile cruiser USS Gettysburg misidentified the Hornet as a potential threat. Both crew members ejected safely, though one sustained minor injuries during recovery. Still, the incident hammered home an unsettling reality. As tensions increased, the likelihood of accidents rose too. Although the conflict would eventually ease towards fragile ceasefire negotiations, the damage was already done. Each success in targeting high-value assets, even if incomplete, reinforced the Houthis' stature of a regional power capable of attacking far beyond its borders. Meanwhile, for the United States, those encounters brought difficult questions about the future of engagements in contested waters. But the skies over the Red Sea wouldn't stay quiet for long. There was still more risk on the horizon. The Houthis' missile campaign revealed an uncomfortable truth. Even the most advanced military in the world is not invulnerable to asymmetric threats. Using relatively inexpensive missiles and drones, the Houthis managed to challenge U.S. dominance in the Red Sea, forcing a massive allocation of resources to counter their evolving tactics. This wasn't just a regional standoff. It was a reminder that modern warfare is no longer confined to state actors or traditional battlefields. As these conflicts unfold, the risk of global stability is undeniable. The Red Sea may be quiet, for now, but the broader implications for military strategy remain wide open. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe for more fact-based, in-depth content on global military events.